Hey everybody, Travels with Dottie here, and I have a special video for you today. Very special friend of mine, and someone most of you probably know, author, YouTuber, Debra Dickinson. And Debra is what I always refer to as an OG nomad, meaning she goes back years. She started camping and learned how to do this lifestyle through the very well-known Bob Wells. And if you've ever seen Nomadland, the Oscar-winning movie, Debra was there for that, was an extra on that, and was invited to participate in that movie by Bob. And she has a remarkable story. She's an amazing author, and she has a great story. Now, Debra and I go back almost 30 years. So I knew her when she was this amazing young executive in a quintessential executive in Dallas, Texas. And now she is this wonderful, intelligent, graceful, kind nomad that helped me get into this lifestyle. In the description, I'll give you ways that you can get to her YouTube channel, her website, her good friend who was with us that you'll see a little bit there, Frugal RV Gal. I'll show you how to find her YouTube channel. And we're going to jump right into it. And here is Debra. So I'm almost certain everyone who follows my channel knows who they're looking at now. This is author Debra Dickinson, my dear friend for 30 years. And we're at her favorite restaurant in this area. We're in Angel Fire, New Mexico, and we're in Mi Cocina having lunch. And I just went to her book signing, and I've been to several of them, and I've wanted to pin her down. I want her to talk to us about her very first book. Oh. And then after that, I wanted her to talk about her latest book, because you guys are going to find this really super interesting. So, Debra, thank you for doing the interview with me.
Anytime.
And the name of your book is... The first one is
the very first book.
How being a nomad saved my life.
No, my very first book is Kaleidoscope 9.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. I really want you to talk about how a nomad saved my life. So that's the one that's so special to me.
Okay. Well, since I mentioned Kaleidoscope 9, I'll just say that Kaleidoscope 9, I started writing it when I was in TBI rehab. And TBI stands for traumatic brain injury. And that ties into how being a nomad saved my life. But I do want to mention that Kaleidoscope 9 is my heart, because in TBI rehab, they ask you, what skill do you want to keep? And I said, well, I want to be able to write. So they assigned me a writing coach, Angelique Giron. What is it? Okay. So they assigned me a writing coach, Angelique Giron, and we're still good friends to this day, but we've never met. She lives in New Jersey. And so she helped me crank out Kaleidoscope 9. It's 9 short stories, and it's about as thin as this straw. It is.
So it's a small book.
It's small but mighty. And so that was probably the biggest book to me, because it showed me that I could write. What your viewers might not know is that because of my brain injury, I can write, but I can't read. I mean, I can read words but if it's more than a paragraph or two, let alone 3. I can't string the words together and make sense of them anymore. And I can't remember what I read. So
in mathematics as well, right? You were like a science teacher.
I was a science teacher, and my career meant dealing with big numbers, millions. And I can't do math anymore. I have been able to. Hanging out with Frugal RV Gal, we play a lot of games, and I've started trying to keep score. And I can do small scores, as long as it doesn't get too big a numbers. And so that's an improvement. So all of this, being able to write, I just started writing my 11th book. Unbelievable that I have been able to do that with my brain injury. And I'm so blessed. And all of that is because of what's in my book, How Being a Nomad Saved My Life. Doctors told me I might see 2016, but I wouldn't know it. They said I'd be a vegetable if I lived. And so I hit the road to see as much as I could while I could. And one year rolled into another, and another year rolled into another. And being out in nature, I mean, I obviously can do town and do book signing events and everything now. But my first few years on the road, I couldn't. It was difficult. And you'll have to read the book to find out how being a nomad saved my life.
But auditory things are a problem too.
Yes, I'm wearing earplugs right now. And so I can't really hear how loud I'm talking. So I hope you don't have to do too much editing. But I have also a headset. Frugal, would you hand me my headset out of my purse? I wear earplugs anytime. Well, I didn't at my book signing event. Fortunately, we're far enough off the road, I didn't have to. Food is already here.
Well,
Wow, that was fast.
look at that.
Oh, that one's mine. We switched seats on you.
Is it your play, lady? Without tortillas? Oh, you change Swiss.
We changed seats on you.
Oh, the chunky dessert. And give me a one.
And taquitos are coming up.
We're going to continue this after dinner.
Okay, we can do that. Okay. So Jenna has given me my headset. From being in TBI rehab and working with several doctors, went through a lot of headsets. I can't do noise canceling headsets because the way noise canceling headsets work is this is an opposing wave. Oops. Let me take my shirt off for you. Okay, this is an opposing wave, and the other one comes in opposite, and they cancel each other out. And I can hear that electrical going through side to side. Very painful.
So I was going to ask you to clarify because you have with me in the past so I could really understand because it's more than just an annoyance with the noise. You have physical things that happen to you.
Yes.
Like nosebleeds and actually ear bleeds, right?
Nosebleeds and ear bleeds. And it can happen even hours later. Like sometimes if the noises are too bad, it can put me in bed and my ears will bleed, and I know that because it's my pillowcase, So it's not always instant. Sometimes it is, which is always embarrassing. But I've learned how to manage that pretty well. And the best thing I can say is, a Doppler effect when you're in a car and you've got the windows open and you have that boom, 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 boom. I get that in my head from noise, and it can be like I don't have any plates in my head, but it can be like a plate swirling or a plate warbling, and sometimes it's both. The plate will swirl and warble at the same time, and then I go down, and that has happened from noise too. I've been out with people and they're like, "Where's Debra?" And I'm down on the floor, and so I have to be really careful with noise. And but this is a 3M Peltor headset, and it makes me look like Princess Leia when I put them on. But there's
I take it it's not inexpensive.
it's actually what's interesting is we tried all of the very expensive ones. I used to have really good insurance from my career and everything. And so I was able to get whatever the doctors wanted to try. And these ended up being on the lesser end.
Really?
And they're just plain, which is amazing. They're just plain headsets, but there isn't another one on the market that works for me.
So I just wanted to have people catch up to my personal understanding of, I didn't know anything about brain, even though I'm a licensed therapist. I didn't really know anything about brain injuries until it happened to you. A brain injury takes abilities away from you, and at the same time, it introduces symptoms that you can't even really imagine.
Yeah.
That can be debilitating, because you've described symptoms to me that there's a stimulus that'll trigger a symptom. And just because the stimulus goes away doesn't mean that you won't be dealing with the consequences for sometimes days.
Yes.
And so, as a human being, what you've had to do here is say, I have to reinvent my life, and I have to compensate for all these dramatic things that have happened and find my way to a new life.
Yes.
And that's what's so fascinating about your book.
Oh, well, thank you.
How being a nomad saved my life. So if people really want to understand brain injuries and how people can overcome and compensate without necessarily a doctor prescribing this is what you need to do, because essentially they said, I'm so sorry, you're doomed.
You're toast.
You're toast. Have a nice couple of years.
Yeah, or not even years. He gave me months.
All right. So that book is a beautiful description of how you, with the help of other people in the community, including Bob Wells, which almost everyone watching this knows who that is.
Yes. I was blessed to be able to travel with Bob and bless his heart. I don't care what your thoughts are about Bob Wells. People are either pro Bob or they can be very anti Bob Wells and CRVL and HOWA. And I don't care where you land in between that. The truth is that for me, a friend that is not in the nomad world, but knew Bob and said, "I want you to go travel with him. Do what he says do, learn from him for as long as you can. And that's going to be your best chance of surviving while you travel." I didn't know anything about Bob. He didn't know anything about me. He was trusting our mutual friend. And he inherited a person with a brain injury that could not sit here and carry on this conversation like we're doing. I was not capable of doing that. I was in bed with symptoms more often than I wasn't. He took all of that on for over a year and carried me through on being a nomad. And from there, it just like I said, I don't think anybody was more surprised than me when one year led to another and another year led to another and another year led to another. And I wasn't a vegetable. I wasn't dead. And I came out here thinking I was going to die. And I finally was like, I'm going to start acting like I'm going to live. And that wasn't until 3 or 4 years into being a nomad. And that Bob gets all the credit for that.
Can I tell you a story I heard about Bob? And you're in a position to verify whether it's true or not.
We'll see.
Because it took place on the set of the movie Nomadland, starring Frances McDermott.
Yes.
I know you were there.
Yes.
You were in shots. You were an extra. You were involved.
Yes.
In the production.
By invitation again by Bob Wells and Suzanne.
I watched the movie, and there was one scene in particular that he was having a conversation with the character Frances McDermott, and it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I said, heart-wrenching. And I said to someone, what a brilliant job the writers did with Bob's words. And they said, nothing. There was no writer. Can you explain that?
Yeah, they just, they're like, Bob, we got somebody we want you to talk to, and treat it like you would anybody that you've met, that you're walking through on how to be a nomad. And they didn't realize that he didn't know who Frances McDermott was at the time. And they're like, and so the director was giving him, Chloe Zhao, she was giving him direction on, I just want you to talk, be yourself, hear her story, and say whatever you would say to anybody else. And he goes, sure, I can do that. And so they sat down, and Frances comes out and she starts telling her story, which was actually Fern's story.
The characters.
In the book. I mean, not the book at all, but in the movie. Fern's character, she's telling Fern's story. Bob was responding to that like he would anybody else that is
Believing it was
needing
genuine
help.
and true, not acting.
Right. And he actually shared later that he forgot that the cameras were on them and everything because he was so enthralled by her story and so touched by the way that she delivered it. And he got caught up in wanting to help her and encourage her and tell her, keep going, keep on keeping on. And it was afterwards cut, and camera people are going off to do the next shoot and everything. And he's like, you really are going to be okay, or something like that. I may not have the exact words, and she's like, Bob, you do know after this, I've got a home in Hollywood and a husband to go to. And
And the story was about the death of her husband.
Yes.
And the death of a town. And
yeah.
And she was explaining, that's not really me, Bob.
And he was like, oh, but that was just Bob being Bob. And that's the Bob that I ran into and that I write about in my book.
As a therapist, the line that got to me was, he said, some people come out here to get over something. And sometimes you don't get over it. And that's okay.
And that's okay. That's okay. And it reminds me of another friend, a mutual friend of mine and Bob's. He wrote one time that it seems to him like back in the Western days, people would in droves would leave New York, Pittsburgh, wherever, and head west to the wild frontier, to the unknown. They were either running from something or they were running to something, just wanting something more, or they were trying to get away from something. So they were either running away or running to. And I think that's been my experience out here. People are either running away or they're running to. Me, I just wanted to explore, and I was running to whatever I could find for as long as I had to live.
So a woman that really couldn't do math anymore, couldn't read like we all take for granted, managed to write her story.
Yeah.
And fast forward to book 11.
Book 11, yeah.
Tell us about
Isn't
book
that
11.
amazing?
This is why I'm doing the interview.
Yeah, I still can't believe it. I honestly can't. I can't believe it. Writing, just like being out in nature as a nomad, writing fills my soul. And if I can write, I told someone today I could probably sit down and write every minute of every waking hour. I don't have a problem writing. Finding the butt time to sit down and do it is a different story. But yeah, I can't believe it. It's not anything I've done by myself. I am so blessed by so many wonderful people in my life.
Is that one of them? There. Just guessing, that might be one.
That is Frugal RV Gal, and yes, that is one of them. I couldn't do what I do without people like Frugal. And at this point, Rob, I want to say that, and I want to be careful how I say this. So y'all bear with me if it doesn't come out very, if it doesn't flow easily. But I want to say this. What I have found since being on the road is I have had family that disowned me when I moved into a van because they were used to me being a upper 5-digit income producer and the big Christmas gifts and whatever it was that they defined me as died for them when I moved into a van. And I literally had a relative tell me one time, do not come to my kids' high school activities in your damn van. And I was very close to this family member. And those kids are now in college and actually graduating. And one of them has a child of her own. And I haven't met that baby. I won't get to. I've had other people along the way that think they know me because of YouTube or because of reading my books or through speaking at RTR or being on other people's YouTube channels or interviews or whatever. And they think they know me, and then they come around, and for whatever reason, they decide to bow out of my life. So I have learned that people come and go, and I have to be strong in my own determination and faith. And it is people like you, Rob, that have been in my life a long time, that know me before, during, and after the brain injury, that are rocks for me. Not only my Frugal RV Gal, but you, Rob. And it, when you lose so many people in your life that think they know the public person and they really don't, or they can't accept the things you have to do to survive with a brain injury. When I have people in my life like Travels with Dottie that are there no matter what, it just makes that relationship even more precious. And I've done none of this on my own. It's with God and Team Debra, period.
Makes me think of two things. Number one, it makes me think of that saying, there's the family that you're born into and the one that you choose.
Yeah. Yeah. Or that chooses you.
Or that chooses you. Very good.
Yeah.
And the other is that I want to tell people that when I met Debra, it was in Dallas, Texas, and she was the quintessential hard charging professional woman that didn't enter a room. She exploded into a room.
That may or may not be a good thing.
It was, get on board or get out of the way. Here comes Debra.
That's not a good thing.
It is a good thing. I was very
doesn't sound good.
I was impressed with it. I mean, it was like a bold, intelligent, professional, hard charging woman. And that's what you were.
Yeah.
And
totally different life before my brain injury.
I love you so much more now than I did then, but I liked you then.
I think I do too. I think I do too. I'm blessed in so many ways, and I'm happy. And would I have the life that I have now without my brain injury? I don't know. I had always planned on retiring and traveling, but certainly it's so odd. I have more compassion and more empathy for people than I ever did before. And at the same time, especially even as I grow older, I have less tolerance for the bullshit and the unkindness and I don't have time for it in a different way than when I was a big career person of not having time. Life is so short, and the things that used to matter just don't anymore. And I just encourage you, if you have a goal or a dream and something you want to do, go for it. And my motto is Coco NMW ODAC, keep on keeping on, no matter what, one day at a time. Just do it.
So an evolution occurred in your writing from telling my story about brain injury, getting through that, to book 11, tell us what the evolution was. What's book 11 about? I bet it's not about brain.
No, none of the rest of my books are. That's the only
Right.
nonfiction I have. And really I have probably in my head and in my heart right now 7 books that I want to write. And it's just a matter of having the time and making the time and taking the time to sit down and do that. But book 11 is the first in the McLean County series. It follows my latest series of books, which was a trilogy, and which features your family's historical home in New York in the last set of that trilogy. But this book is another fun character. She enters the witness protection program and then gets out of the witness protection program. And there's a lot of mystery and suspense. There's some romance, and my romance is along the lines of a Hallmark movie. There's, it's just clean romance, but it's good. And I think sexy, a little dangerous, mysterious, fun.
Like a mystery romance adventure.
Absolutely.
That's the evolution.
Yeah.
And so the books are available on Amazon. They're Kindle. You can get paperback copies. Like today, you do book signings
Yes.
many times a year. And also, thanks to my sister,
Yes.
you're on Audible.
I'm on Audible now, thanks to your sister.
Because she's a narrator for audiobooks, and she clued me into the fact that there are ways to get your book produced without having to put money up front.
Yes.
And that's what you did, and we're very successful doing it.
Yes,
So
and I enjoy that audition process of finding new narrators, and I enjoyed getting to know your sister a little bit, interacting with her and learning from her, and I'm so grateful for that. That's part of that team, Debra. I told you I haven't done any of this on my own. And you can also go to my website, DebraDickinson.com, and look at the events page to see where you can get come to my book signing events. And at those events, I sell my paperbacks a little less than on Amazon. Plus, I of course inscribe them to whoever is buying them.
Well, Debra, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for taking all this time. I appreciate it.
You bet. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Well, hey guys, just got out of the restaurant after that amazing interview with Debra Dickinson. It was truly a remarkable interview, but I realized I'd left the car running and the AC going, and I walked outside and it was really cold and it's raining, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Dottie, it's probably freezing. I'm laughing because she's okay. She is, but it was cold in here and she was shaking a little bit, and I just threw the heat on and she's fine now. Here's a little proof of life here. Dottie, I feel so bad. You okay, Dottie Dot? She's just fine. Oh. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I think that's the best interview I've ever had with anybody, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I'm grateful for you watching the videos. I'll see you tomorrow. And you were rid of me, but you weren't. I just went in to do some grocery shopping, and I thought of something. So I was in there. When I was doing that interview with Debra, I was sitting across the table from her. And before the start of the interview, I recognized one of my subscribers who's staying at Golden Eagle RV Resort. I met this lovely couple, and I saw him, and I said hi to him. And his wife wasn't there when I first saw him. And in the middle of the interview, where they were getting up to leave, she turned around and said hi to me and waved. And I was in the middle of I was holding up the camera, and I was in the middle of asking one of the questions to Debra, and it was during a pretty emotional part of the interview. So I did not acknowledge her. And I feel bad about that. So if you're watching this, I did not, it was certainly not my intent to disregard you saying hi to me or any disrespect. I hope you'll forgive me. It was kind of an emotional interview, and it was an emotional moment, and I didn't want to break that by diverting my attention. So I hope you understand, and I apologize. Now I'm really leaving. Now this is really the end of the video.